Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Matt Humans today, in for Paulie Howard with the day off. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. We're going to go heavy preseason NFL today. We'll sprinkle in the Major League Baseball card coming up tonight as well. 4 strong guests, including Chuck, the Iceman Edel. In 30 minutes, he loves betting the NFL preseason. He was 79-44 with some pushes last year to win the Friday Football Invitational here at Circa. That's an incredible record. Can't wait to talk to Chuck, Matt. Loves this time of year, and always great to pick his brain and see what he's on, although these numbers have gotten out of control at this point.
That's true. Chuck, the Iceman Edel is one of only a couple people I talk with about NFL preseason football every year, because I know that he's ahead of the information and ahead of the number most times. And Chuck and I talked about it a couple times here in the past 2 weeks. So it'd be great to have him on today. Even if you got the better of the number last night, you probably got burned, except for the Raiders game late last night. We can talk about that coming up. But Mitch, the line moves were wrong sides on Thursday night, and so far in the NFL preseason, we have 4 overs and 4 underdogs.
Yeah, hopefully I'm wrong here, but my guess is, knowing Chuck, he probably did not have a good night last night, because he is in front of these moves all the time, and he loves, he watches all the press conferences, picks up on what these coaches are saying, and he's part of the sharp moves a lot of times in the NFL, and those numbers just got, wackadoo. And if you followed him, if you tailed him last night, you got absolutely burned and lost every bet, which is unfortunate. I'm guessing books did quite well last night, although they're not taking $1 zillion on these preseason games overall. But all the moves were wrong. And then what I found intriguing too, Matt, last night, after last year when weeks 1 and 2 started 26-6 to the under, forget about it last night. The exact opposite.
Yeah, it's a short sample so far, but 4-0 to the over so far. So you can't overreact to trends like that. But what I was seeing last night is these offensive coordinators letting the quarterbacks play.
They really are.
And you're not seeing many top-line defensive players out there, right? It's mostly second-string, third-string guys. Now, the Bengals played their first-stringers last night, but it didn't matter because they looked like second- and third-stringers.
That's right.
But so far, I think the biggest difference I've noticed is that the play calling has changed. Instead of 4 preseason games, you got 3. And a lot of coaches are using the joint practices and the scrimmages as well. We can talk about the Dolphins-Bears situation as well during the show today. But I'm seeing coaches actually calling more plays to open the playbook and let these quarterbacks air it out a little bit. Remember how conservative so many coaches were in the preseason? Would be hand it off, punt. And you would see just ultra-conservative game plans. I'm seeing kind of the opposite so far.
Last night was pretty alarming going down that path. Mm-hmm. And, so I'm looking at a quote right now, or what Pete Carroll told the media after the game. He said that they intentionally kept their play calling basic on both sides of the ball against the Seahawks. I don't know, if you watched that game last night, after Aiden O'Connell had a rough start to the game, right? And the broadcasters, including Rich Gannon, they were very difficult on the team. And they looked like trash a lot of different times in that game. The defense specifically, I thought there was a sense of urgency. Like Carroll was playing that game in the second half like he didn't want to lose the game. Like it felt like it was almost rapid fire. Here we go. It's going to be a breakneck pace. We're going to go down the field, taking some shots here. What was that we watched last night? I had the under 37.5. I was contemplating getting out when it was 34.5 during the game. I didn't, so that was a loser from me. But that game eventually flew over the total.
It did. And what's interesting to me is you could tell in the second half Pete Carroll wanted to win the game. There's no question. He was coaching to win. Bernie Fratto, a friend of ours, was texting me during the game last night, and he was looking to bet the Raiders live in the second half, which turned out to be a good play. Mm-hmm. They were down 16-3 at the half. And they looked so bad in the first half on both sides of the ball. Aiden O'Connell was awful. I was talking about the JT the Brick video where he was hyping up O'Connell, and some of the other Raiders reporters I heard talked about O'Connell's been tremendous in camp. Out playing Geno Smith, and he looks fun. He looks great. And I watched him in the first half last night. I said, this is the exact same quarterback I've been watching for the last 2 years.
Identical. Identical guy.
Yeah, where is this big difference? I don't see it. Now, he came out in the third quarter and he looked much better. He made some good throws, but he made 2 horrendous throws in the first half. Badly underthrown ball on a deep ball where he had the receiver, had 2 steps on him, and then he telegraphed a pass that the safety was able to pick off, and he stared down his receiver the entire way. So the Raiders were in a big hole. At that point, it was probably the right time to jump on him live because Pete Carroll did coach to win that game in the second half last night. They were throwing deep balls. They were stretching it out. You know what was interesting to me in the first half last night, too, and you bet the under, and I thought it might work in your favor this way. The Seahawks were not playing vanilla preseason defense last night. If you're watching it, they were changing looks right before the snap, and that was part of what confused O'Connell, I think, in a couple of those series there in the second quarter. The Seahawks, you don't typically see that where teams are changing their defensive looks right before the snap and blitzing, but they were doing that last night.
Yeah, so, AOC did turn it around. Again, that was later in the game, and obviously we're talking about fringe players here for Seattle at best playing at that time. But also, like in terms of just betting the preseason for the Raiders this year specifically, Cam Miller looked good.
Yeah, he did.
And he threw that 1 touchdown pass that I thought was pretty impressive. He was 6 of 7 overall, 76 yards and a touchdown. I don't know. Are the Raiders a team that you want to back maybe moving forward here? If you grabbed the 1.5 with them last night before that big move, right? You ended up being a winner.
I needed that too because it was not a good night before that. We talked about this on the show yesterday. I said, man, it swung so far, 7-point line move up to 5.5. I probably got to take a little bit back with the Seahawks, right? At plus 5.5. So I did that and it turned out great.
You won them both? Wow.
I did lose on the Bengals. I did lose on a Bengals money line parlay, so got off to a rough start last night. I did have the Bengals first quarter, which was a winner. And I think that there was a lesson that came out of that game too. Just bet the Bengals first quarter. Shouldn't have messed around with the rest of the game, right? Because Joe Burrow played, and he had 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter.
Right down the field.
Yeah, moved right down the field. The Bengals were – the best bet was Bengals first quarter. And when Joe Burrow, a guy like that, and Jamar Chase, players of that caliber, are going to be in there in the first – why did I even mess around with the game? Should just bet the first quarter. Now, sometimes in preseason, what's the problem is, and Chuck Edel's going to talk about it too, we're trying to get ahead of the line move on the Bengals. So you lay 3, it goes up to 6. You think, okay, I got some closing line value. The problem is you can't get the first quarter, first half numbers until a lot of times the day before the game because in the preseason, those don't go up early. Sure.
Well, a couple of other backup quarterbacks that you might want a piece of. I mean, McKee looked really good in that game for the Eagles, right? Overall numbers, 20 of 25, 252 and 2 touchdowns. That game absolutely flew over the total. Eagles were plus 220 on the money line. The Bengals defense again, whew, boy, oh boy. But also with that Raiders game in Cam. So if it's going to be, we didn't see Geno much last night. A combination here of Aiden O'Connell, Pete Carroll's desire to win preseason games. This goes back throughout his entire career. Cam Miller looking good last night. And as long as that team is playing backups in the preseason on defense, I think they're going to be an over team. They were out of place. They didn't know what they were doing last night. Totally dysfunctional on defense. And the Seahawks and Drew Lock looked like, this is going to be too easy for the team.
Sure.
In that first half. And the game eventually ended up 23-23. And I don't want to overreact and get too nuts from last night, but there's a lot of observations I think to take away anyway for the next couple of games for these teams.
Yeah, especially the Raiders. They look like they're going to be an over team in the preseason. The defense looked ragged. Yeah. And offensively, you got 3 quarterbacks that can play. Geno Smith was 1 for 3 for 15 yards. He was out quick last night. Didn't make much of it. It was just a cameo appearance by him. But Raiders do look like in the preseason at least they're going to be an over team. When you get to the regular season, I'm not so sure, Mitch, because Chip Kelly is a run-first play caller.
Yeah.
And he is going to force-feed Ashton Jeanty and Raheem Mostert and those running backs. And, you got to think the Raiders' defense, once you get Max Crosby and some of the other first-line guys on the field, it's going to be a little bit better. But in the preseason, I'm looking to bet on the Raiders and probably over the total in the Raiders' next 2 preseason games.
I don't disagree with that.
I did like Tanner McKee a lot, by the way. I watched that tape last night when I got home. And I've always liked Tanner McKee going back to Stanford anyway, and he's looked pretty good in his previous appearances with the Eagles. But it's interesting last night that when you got a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who just led the team to a Super Bowl, I heard that on social media there were a lot of Eagles fans who were calling for Tanner McKee to be the Eagles' starting quarterback.
Yeah, well, actually,
he might be better than Hurts. Would we win more games if we had McKee than Hurts? That was actually a discussion among Eagles fans on social media last
Do you
night.
think, and it's always good to have a nice backup quarterback, obviously. You need that because guys go down all the time. Do you think if a guy like that shines a lot in the preseason, like a team like Philadelphia could say, man, his trade value all of a sudden, we're looking at something here that we never thought we could get for him. Now we got to like fire while the iron's hot.
How about this? How about the Saints? Kellen Moore just came from Philadelphia.
Okay, there's a good angle.
He's got Tyler Shuck as his quarterback. He's got a couple of backups who really can't play. Why would Kellen Moore not try to trade for Tanner McKee?
That's intriguing. They have weapons there on offense, but the quarterback room is a disaster. And then the other one, our buddy Chris Massero here, Pro Sports Better, he's been sending me texts for the last couple of days. He's all in. This is before last night's game. He is all in on the Colts under 7.5 wins. And he likes it more now, even after what happened last night. The Richardson pinky does, but that's on him, guy. Come on, man. You can't feel that rush coming.
He can't. He can't read defenses. There was one play last night where the Colts had a wide open running back in the flat and a receiver who did a quick out, and there wasn't a defender within 10 yards. And Anthony Richardson never even looked at that side of the field. He was looking at the other side of the field. He is a long way away from being a winning quarterback in the NFL. And by the way, the Colts' special teams are a mess, too. The defense didn't look too good.
That was fun, huh? I mean, so all those line moves were wrong. And then, it took almost a minor miracle for the Raiders to tie that game. But you're like a sliver away from all three dogs, a kind of decent dogs last night, winning all those games.
You know who had that bet? Will Hill.
All three of them?
All three dogs on the money line last night.
Well, so then he won it, right, on a two-teamer then?
He got a two-teamer.
Yeah. We'll get into tonight's preseason slate coming up next. Once you know it, significant line move again. What is Matt like? We'll ask him coming up.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More preseason football here. Welcome back. We're live, downtown Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Mitch Moss along with Matt Humans. He's in for Paulie Howard with the day off today. We head out here to the Progressive Guest Line. Chuck Edel joins the program now, professional sports bettor. He was 79, 44, and 3 last year in the Friday Football Invitational here at Circa. Incredible record. Chuck, thanks for the time today. We appreciate it. How you doing?
Great. Always good to be on with you.
We were speculating in the first segment today saying, Chuck's very good on the preseason. He's typically going to be getting ahead of all these line moves. Was that the situation last night as they moved, my God, 5, 6, 6.5, almost 7 points in some of those games?
Yeah, luckily I wasn't. I wasn't. I thought some of the line moves were crazy. I mean, even when you look at the very first game with the Indianapolis-Baltimore game, obviously we all know how Harbaugh in his history how good he does in the preseason. But a lot of money came in. They announced Richardson was going to play the first quarter and a half, and then Daniel Jones was going to mop up in the second half, and the money just kept on coming out of Indianapolis. And on the other side of the ball, Cooper Rush. If you ask me who do you want for one game, Cooper Rush or Anthony Richardson, I tell you Cooper Rush. And the fact that the game was at Baltimore and the money just kept on coming in at Indianapolis, I did grab Baltimore towards the end there, plus the points. I thought there's been a lot of line movements when teams are saying they're only going to play their starters maybe 1 to 2 series, and some these teams are getting we could talk about the Denver game that's coming up. I mean that's a similar situation. Even though I was lucky enough to get in Denver, but I bought that back as well. So. But some of these games definitely more than in the past, I feel like off of just a tiny bit of information. Pete Carroll said that all my guys are live to play and my starters are live. And boy, that, like when Matt took the Raiders plus 1.5, that was a great bet. But once that line got up to 6.5, it was a ridiculous play. And Seattle was definitely the right side there.
And Geno Smith attempted 3 passes, right? So sometimes these starters can be in the game long. The Iceman is with us. Chuck, I don't know how many win totals you bet in the NFL, probably not a lot, but is it an overreaction to watch the Colts last night and say, I'm not high on the Colts anyway, but you watch the Colts last night and say, I like this team under the win total of 7.5 even more. Is that an overreaction?
Sometimes there is overreactions. I would say it's not an overreaction. I mean, we know Daniel Jones had plenty of time in the Giants. Maybe he wasn't always coached up the right way, or maybe he didn't have the players around him. But there was a reason why he didn't continue to play for the Giants. He didn't look good yesterday coming in when Richardson went down. And we know Richardson, listen, the guy's a super athletic guy, and but he can't stay healthy. Especially he likes to run the ball out of the pocket and so forth. It's going to be a problem keeping him healthy. And Daniel Jones, where are you going with him? I would only take the under. I don't think it's an overreaction, actually.
Just follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Chuck Edel, our guest here on the Progressive Guest Line. Okay, so for the card that we have coming up tonight, line moves again all over the place. Some of them, 5-6 points, maybe even a little bit more. Carolina opened up a half against the Browns. Shedeur Sanders going to go for Cleveland in this game. Carolina's now laying 6.5. What did you do with this game? And is there a bet that you would recommend to the audience right now with the current numbers?
So I did take Carolina. I didn't get the -0.5, but I laid 2.5 with Carolina. And they're going to play their starters. There are 8 to 12 plays in this game. And Young's going to play. You got Dalton coming in, a veteran backup coming in after him. I don't know how long he's going to play. And then, Cleveland's got a situation here where they don't, all their quarterbacks, Flacco's not going to play. They're not going to play him in a preseason. The other guys, Gabriel's out. The kid from Pitt, he's injured. So they just signed Huntley. How much he's going to play, I don't know. You're going to see a lot of Sanders in this game, and we'll see. I don't quite think he's ready for the game. So I did take Carolina -2.5. But yesterday the line went all the way up to 7, and I did grab some 7. I still have a position on Carolina -2.5, but I did buy a decent chunk back at the +7. And I actually have a prop on this game, which I'm not a big prop guy. I usually follow a few of respected guys on props, but there was a prop, I believe, is at William Hill Caesars, that who will get sacked first, the quarterback for Carolina or quarterback for Cleveland. And we all know, even watching Sanders in college, his pocket presence isn't that good. I took he would be the first guy to be sacked -$1.30. I thought that was a cheap price. And that was available at William Hill and Caesars at Sanders. Sanders will get sacked before Carolina quarterback. Well, actually the Cleveland quarterback, which it will be Sanders, will get sacked first. And I thought that was a decent prop.
I like that angle. Would you consider Carolina, and this is like key, right, for the preseason, based on, again, when teams are going to announce, hey, our guys are going to go for at least a series, maybe a little bit more, always look at first quarters and first halves. If the Panthers are going to play their guys like 8 to 12 plays tonight, and it's going to be Shedeur Sanders, and you expect him to be up against it, would you look Carolina first quarter or first half in this game?
I would. Here's the situation why it's not always. If the first half lines came out on Monday when the regular lines come out, that's all I would be looking at.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not coming out usually till maybe a few spots come out the night before the game. Most spots come out the morning of the game. So you look at Carolina, they were 2.5, now they're 7. So no bargain on the first half. I did play Carolina though, very small tonight in the first half. So I do have a little bit of play, but I had, I laid 2.5 for the game, and I laid 4 points for the first half. So that's part of the problem you run into. The first half line is going to be not too good by the time the game time comes around on some of these plays.
The Iceman, reigning champ of the Circa Friday Football Invitational, with us. How about the Lions? Obviously looked horrendous in Canton a week ago, but that might put them in a bet-on spot here. The line has moved in their direction from 1 to 3.5, total of 32 to 33.5. Did you bet the side or the total in the Lions-Falcons game?
I didn't, and like you said, Detroit does have a game under their belt. Neither, it doesn't look like any starters are going to play from either team. So normally when you tell me no starters are going to play for either team, I automatically would look at the dog there. And, of course, then you want to look at the quarterback rotation, which is a little bit built into the line to begin with. But, Detroit, I think, is going to have Hooker and Kyle Allen going, Atlanta, Easton Stick, and then Emory Jones, a kid who transferred 3-4 times in college. So I would say Detroit has a small advantage. quarterback wise, but I would never lay the points in this game. It would be the dog. It looks like a coin flip type game. It'd be the dog or nobody for me.
Yeah. How about the other game? Commanders at the Pats. Another big one here. Pats opened 1.5 in some spots. The number is now as high as 6.5, total about 34.5 or 35.
Yeah, I was able to grab a little bit of the New England. And again, the New England's getting bet, I think, over bet now. I'm going to be looking, if it pops 7, I'll be looking to take some back with Washington +7. New England's going to play their starters 1 to 2 series, but that's it. And then you're going to see Dobbs and Woolridge finish up. Washington, they're really not playing anybody starter wise. You're going to see Josh Johnson and then the Sam Hartman. So if this line goes up to 7, I would only look at the dog. I got a small play on New England. I wasn't able to grab the number everywhere, but I did take some New England early in the week. But I'll be looking to take it all back maybe on the dog if I can find a 7 here.
Chuck, we got about 90 seconds left, and we also got 8 games on the Saturday card. Anything you would recommend or anything you would bet on Saturday?
Yeah, with Jacksonville was I'll be looking possibly to play the first half in the Jacksonville game. They're going to play their starters a few series. They're learning new defense, but as of now, I have nothing going on for. I did not make one play for the Saturday slate. I'll be looking to do a few things, but as of now, I don't have anything going.
All right, Chuck. Thanks for the time. Good luck tonight and this weekend when you do add stuff in the NFL. We appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
There you go. Before the line moves, the Sharp Plays is already there. They don't follow the market. They help shape it. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar sports books or full-time sharps all by yourself, but with the Sharp Plays, you don't have to. Backed by advanced AI and connected to trusted insider sources, the Sharp Plays delivers the kind of edge that serious bettors count on every day. You're going to get free betting reports, real-time alerts, and market-moving insights straight to your inbox or X feed. And this isn't some summer side hustle. The Sharp Plays has been proving it since 2011 with documented results, public logs, and transparent receipts. SharpPlays.com, trusted by pros, watched by books. Visit SharpPlays.com and stay ahead of the line. Yeah, it's a good point because you're not going to get these first half numbers up with very much notice here. They're going to pop like maybe the night before or the day of. And I think what Chuck said too earlier, he doesn't really remember the lines moving this much.
Those are some big moves on the Thursday games, no question about it. I mean, you're talking about basically a 6-point move in every game last night.
I know, and then look at the Broncos game against the Niners this weekend. What's that been? I think a 7.5 point move, I think?
Seems like too much, too, because those teams are practicing against each other this week, right. And the game would probably be pretty vanilla.
Busy card tonight, Major League Baseball. We'll talk about it from a better betting perspective next.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Here on a Friday, we're live in downtown Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Mitch Moss along with Matt Humans. He's in today for Paulie Howard. A lot of football coming up in the final 2 hours of today's program. We will talk Lions and Falcons coming up in 30 minutes. Ben Raven's going to join the program. He covers Detroit football in that very fine city. I have a bunch of win totals this year, Matt, and next week we're going to have a fun show here where we do a bunch of future bets on the program all together here throughout the VSiN network. I hope mine are not stolen. It's going to be a snake draft that we're going to put together. I know that you're high on Denver this year, like super high on them. Mm-hmm. Were they one of the first bets that you made? And then what was the overall number or numbers that you got on them?
Yeah, this goes all the way back to last year in the preseason. I was on your show talking about it.
I believe
that. Everybody thought the Broncos were going to be bad. Worst team in the AFC West. Blah, blah.
Nick stinks. I thought he was going to stink.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was a consensus opinion. I watched the Broncos in the preseason. I said, kind of like you did with Taco Bell, we've got to do a 180 on this team. I was very impressed with the depth and the talent that the Broncos showed in the preseason last year. Now, if you watched the Lions in the Hall of Fame game or you watched the Colts last night, the back end of those rosters are not good.
Oh, no.
Right? And I watched the Broncos last year in the preseason and said, man, this team is really talented. Low win total of 5.5. Plus, I love to bet over the low win totals if you got a good coach. and a manageable schedule.
Sure.
The Broncos had that last year with Sean Payton. So this is a carryover. I think this team's going to continue to be on the rise. Don't forget the Broncos started 0-2 last year, finished 10-7. 20 starters came back. They had a good draft, really good offseason, including free agency. And again, this was a defense that led the league in sacks last year with 63. Number 3 in scoring defense at 18.3 points a game. And even though the offense wasn't dynamic, Bo Nix was more of a game manager type of quarterback last year. A lot of those throws were at or near the line of scrimmage. He didn't throw a lot of deep balls last year. A little bit more as the season went along. But that wasn't a bad offense last year. 10th in scoring at 25 points a game. And Mitch, they weren't that effective running the ball. I think the Broncos are going to be more effective running the ball this season. Bottom line for me is you have arguably the number 1 defense in the NFL in Denver. And you probably have the number 2 offensive line. That's a pretty good combination for a team that I think can take down the Chiefs in the AFC West.
They also had 25 takeaways last year on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you would expect almost if that unit can stay healthy, absolutely they could be better this season. Like, why can't they?
They got more playmakers on defense this season than they had a year ago.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Right? I'm with you. I think I might regret this one. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see how the season plays out. But I've said this story on the air before, going back, at least a month, maybe more. Looking at the Broncos overall and their future bets, Circa had plus 425 to win the division. And I had it in the queue, and I'm like...
You didn't bet it?
I'm like, I shopped around. It was the best number by at least a quarter. Like, is this number going to move that much? And, of course, people are going to pick off the numbers. And I didn't bet it and went back, long gone. See you later.
I got plus 350.
What's
What'd
it at?
you get?
I never bet it.
Now it's about 3-1 most spots.
There you go. It's down to 3-1 now.
Yeah.
I never bet it. Never bet it. No. But is that a team? Here's what Sean Payton said. Good tweet here from Zach Kelberman. Payton believes the Broncos are capable of winning the Super Bowl this year. Quote, I've coached 6 teams that I thought could win the Super Bowl. Some went to the championship games, some to the playoffs. This is my 7th team that I think has that. End of quote. Broncos coach Sean Payton. Would you put them on the list of teams that can win it this year?
I don't have them on the list of teams that can win it, but I firmly believe that teams don't win the Super Bowl until they find a way to win a playoff game first.
Baby steps.
Yep. You got to have some success in the postseason in previous years. You don't just jump into the playoffs and roll to a Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
Can you think of a team that's done that?
Maybe the Rams with Kurt Warner.
Even that team was highly regarded even before Trent Green went down and Kurt Warner took over, right?
I thought that they were a long shot. I mean, that's the one team that came to mind.
Yeah,
usually.
After Trent Green went down, I think they became a longer shot because nobody thought Kurt Warner could win. I can't remember if the Rams, well, still, you're going back 25 years.
That's a long time ago. That's a quarter century at least. That's the one time I don't know. I mean,
typically, and you see it in the NBA all the time. You have to win a playoff series. You got to fail some way along the way on the way to the finals before that team can take the next step and win a championship.
Oklahoma City's a perfect example.
Yeah, of course.
Youngest team in the league 2 years ago, took the league by storm, got the 1 seed overall, couldn't make it out of the second round. What'd they do? Got better last year, won the title.
When I look at the Broncos, I'm not going to put them on the list of teams that can win the Super Bowl. They got the talent to do it. They got the defense, offensive line. I don't think Bo Nix in his second year is ready to take down an AFC where you're going to have to go through probably Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. You're probably going to have to go through at least 2 of those guys. I don't think Bo Nix is ready to take that step to get to the Super Bowl yet. So
you're asking for a lot there.
Oh, a lot. The AFC is just absolutely loaded with stud quarterbacks. And, Bo Nix surprised a lot of us by how well he played last season. I don't think he's ready to win the AFC yet, even though I think the Broncos as a team are getting close. I'm going to say they're a year away from being a team that can win the Super Bowl. Sean Payton says that he likes to talk. He's not afraid to put expectations on his team. I like that he said that. I think they've got the talent to do it. But again, Bo Nix in his second year, I don't think he's ready to beat those elite quarterbacks in the AFC, at least in the playoffs. That's what I'm talking about.
That's all fair. Here's who I have on my list as of right now. I'm certainly going to add some, but definitely on my list of teams that can win it. Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, all out of the AFC. Eagles.
Oh, so you've only got 3 in the AFC.
I will add.
Okay.
These are definitely on my list as of right now, and I'm open to like conversations about it. And certainly, because I can't sit here and tell you only 4 teams can win the Super Bowl. I think that's silly.
No, I'm with you here. I made my list for the AFC. I left off the Chargers. I left off the Broncos. I left off the Texans. We're talking about teams that can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I've got 3 in the AFC, just like you. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens.
I don't have Bengals. I don't trust the defense.
Bengals defense is too bad right now to win a Super Bowl. When the Bengals went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams, that defense is actually pretty good. I don't know what's happened to it here in the last 3 years. Obviously, they've lost some key players, but Cincinnati's defense is not good enough.
No, it's
so I'm
totally
with
flipped.
you. I'm with you on the 3 from the AFC. I think in the NFC, you're going to have to throw a lot more teams on that list.
Well, no, I mean, so Philly for sure. Are you a Lions guy this year, or did they lose too much with the coaches?
I think they lost too much, and I'm not a Lions guy this year, but I think you still have to put them on the list of a team that can win the Super Bowl, right?
They were. So here's the deal, right, with their schedule. I mean, it is an absolute meat grinder.
Jeez. Look at all those road games in the first 6 weeks who they got to play.
I think, right, on paper, it's the most difficult road schedule in the history of the league with their opponents.
Oh, yeah.
Having said that, the league gave them a lot of favors because they're catching teams with like short rest. So maybe that plays out to them this year. And by the way, maybe the defense stays healthy this year. Last year, they were up against it because it was just like they had to wear name tags at practice. Nobody knew who they were.
I don't want to overreact to what happened in Canton, but I've been down on Detroit a little bit in the offseason. Just they had 5 turnovers in that playoff loss to the Commanders, right? And things got really sloppy for the Lions late in the season. And I think when you have Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn as your coordinators and you lose those 2 guys and you lose 7 coaches in general, I think Dan Campbell's going to get exposed a little bit. Also, there was a point in time where you would have ranked the Lions offensive line right up there in the best top 3 in the NFL. You lose 2 starters off that line.
Have to bring that up,
That line's a little bit weaker. Ben Johnson, I thought, brought the best out of Jared Goff. Lions got to play at Green Bay, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, and at Kansas City in the first 6 weeks. Good luck with that.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, are the Commanders on your list of teams from the NFC?
Yes. They won 2 road playoff games last year, and then obviously got the door slammed in their face in Philadelphia and got blown out, but they did have success. That's a team that took that first step you need to take before you get to the Super Bowl.
Well, there you go, to go full circle now. I know a lot of people are down expecting massive regression.
Oh, I expect some regression too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know our buddy Chris Massero, second reference today for Spittin' Mad Chris Massero, loves him. He doesn't expect it to happen. He's like, their offense is too good. They're the same reasons why, he loves the team this year for the same reasons why he loved them last year. Mm-hmm. He loved Daniels coming into the league. How'd that work out? And he also loved the coaching staff, much like I did.
Yeah.
I thought bringing Dan Quinn back in, Kingsbury, it doesn't matter if he's a bad NFL coach.
Great coordinator.
He's an awesome coordinator. Mm-hmm. Now, they're not going to go 80+% on
he's going to be a head coach again, too.
Yeah, and it won't work.
Huh?
And it won't work.
No, he's got the perfect quarterback right now, Jaden Daniels. The thing is, I think you have to put the Commanders on the list. Even if you expect regular season regression, that's the type of team that could get hot in the playoffs and get there, right? Eagles, Commanders, Packers, Lions, Rams, and here's the gray area. Do you put the Bucs and the 49ers on that list?
I'm not there with the 49ers. I can't do it. I think that their window's done. I think they slipped. There was a 5-year stretch where they had maybe the best roster in football. I don't think they have the best roster in football.
Defense is not even close to this.
Not even close. Not even close. So, Buccaneers, there's an angle here where they could get the 1 seed. Soft division, super explosive offense.
I think you have to put them on the list, even if you're not super high on the Bucs, you still have to put them on the list, right?
So you mentioned the Packers are on your list?
I put the Packers on there.
No Vikings?
I did not put the Vikings.
Too big of a question mark with JJ?
Yeah.
I'm super high in the Vikings.
I love the Vikings as a team in general.
I know.
I don't think that JJ is going to get them there this year.
Did you say the Rams?
I did put the Rams on there. Even though we have a lot of doubts about Matthew Stafford's back injury right now, I still have to put the Rams on there. I love the Rams. But you and I have a very good number on the Rams, too. I wouldn't bet them now.
No.
I've got 30-1. I think you've got the same number.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet them at the current price.
I'm just I'm a little freaked out about the back injury. They're on my list, but I'm a little panicked.
Back injuries can be troublesome.
Yes, they
no doubt
can.
about it.
All right, we had Chuck Edel on the program in the first hour, defending Friday Football Invitational champ here at Circa. The contest is back this year. Matt will share some of the details coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome in. 3 preseason games last night. 3 more on the docket tonight. One of them, the Lions take on the Ravens, and we head out here to the Progressive Guest Line as Ben Raven joins the program now. Lions beat writer for MLive, co-host Dungeon of Doom podcast. You can follow him on X at Benjamin S. Raven. Ben, thanks for the time today. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Just getting to the stadium right now, Hopefully a little more offensive fireworks tonight from the Lions, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, last week was ugly. And on that note, what is the mindset, do you think, Ben, here, of Dan Campbell and the coaching staff in preseason game number 2, entering it tonight as a 3.5-point favorite against Atlanta after they were pathetic and they were embarrassed last week?
They need more out of Hendon Hooker. I'm giving him slack for last week just because he went in the second half, down multiple scores, and it seems like they just wanted to get the heck out of there healthy as possible after handing it off to Jabari Small 12 times. So they want to see him execute the offense. I mean, he did look good through the first 2 weeks of camp. So I want to see that guy, the guy who wasn't thinking too much, the guy that was making calls at the line and looking a lot more comfortable. He's kind of slipped into the habits of last year where he's thinking a little too much. He's scrambling a little too much. I mean, when somebody's not throwing the ball in practice and they're just scrambling, it's nobody's getting better when you do that. So they want to see growth out of him. They want to see a little more from the passing game without question.
Ben, how about John Morton, the new offensive coordinator? How much different are things going to be under him than they were under Ben Johnson?
Everything we've been told in front of the podium, behind the podium, is that I'd be crazy to change too much. And I mean, I kind of agree with that too. When you're top 5 offense 3 years in a row, don't reinvent the wheel. And I don't think it'll be that much different. We do see it's hard to tell this time of year, but a ton more play action. And I do think he has a lot of those qualities of Dan Campbell. They want to run the ball first, but they know what they have in the passing game. So I just don't see him reinventing the wheel too much. Try sticking what you're doing. There's still going to be the fun trick plays. There's still going to be an explosive offense. But yeah, it's been a slow development to the start of camp for the offense for sure. I mean, the defense has been just kind of dominant in Allen Park.
Yeah, just need that unit to stay healthy this year. Had they last year, I think they win the entire thing. Okay, so what's the breakdown, you think, once the regular season gets here, Ben, in the backfield between Gibbs and Montgomery?
It's still, the last couple of years I've been it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50. This year I really do think it's going to be Gibbs 60-40. They're still going to try and protect him, but they want him to do more in the passing game. They really want more out of him there, but he's a superstar. He's a superstar. David Montgomery is great. Going to be a vital part of the offense, but when you got something like Gibbs, you got to ride it. And I think they know that too. And I think David Montgomery might be even better suited for a role like that, just short yardage. I mean, he looks good too, but when you're sharing the backfield with a legit breakout player like Gibbs, you got to start leaning on your main horse a little more, I think.
One thing I think handicappers need to spend more time on is handicapping offensive lines and which teams have the best and worst. And the Lions have had one of the best, but they have 2 new starters on that offensive line this year. So how much different is that Detroit offensive line going to look? And where would you rank that Detroit offensive line within the NFL? The Eagles, the Broncos got 2 of the strongest. Where do you think the Lions rank right now?
I think the biggest loss of the offseason over the coordinators, over anything else, was Frank Ragnow. And I think it's still got potential to be a top 10 unit, no doubt about it. I'd still put him in that top 10, but it slipped a little because, Graham Glasgow is going through his 3rd position change in 3 years back at center. You got the rookie Ratledge, and then you got Christian Mahogany at the other guard spot who only started 2 games last year. I mean, losing Ragnow, losing Kevin Zeitler, that's a big deal. But, Taylor Decker is going to be ready to go here before too long. And you still got Penei Sewell on the other side too. So there's still some cornerstone pieces, but yeah, that interior line, there's 2 starts between 2 of those new starters, and that's going to look different. I mean, it really is. They tried working Ratledge at center to open camp, but ever since they put the pads on, it's been Glasgow, and it looks like that's going to stick.
Yeah. With that question mark, the aforementioned, loss of coaches here on the staff as well, and one of the most brutal schedules I've ever seen on the road. I think it's the most difficult ever in the history of the league, and a very difficult division. Like, what are your true expectations here? Do you just think, okay, they're just too good on paper, they're going to win the division, and they're going to push for the 1 seed in the NFC? Or are we talking about a team here that might be on the verge of missing the playoffs this season?
I still think this is the best team in the NFC North. I really do still think that, but I think we're talking 10, 11 win territory right here. Like, honestly, I mean, that schedule is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers should be better. The Vikings, like, no matter if the Vikings have a drop off or not, like, they're not going to be terrible. They're not going to be bad. And I mean, the one wild card is Chicago. But yeah, I still got the Lions winning the North. I don't know if they'll push for the 1 seed, because I think there's going to be a lot of eating each other up inside the North this year, especially with that number 1 division champ schedule they got this year. But yeah, this is still a playoff lock to me. I don't have concerns about that.
How do you handicap the rest of the division? When you look at the Vikings, Packers, Bears, how would you rank it right now? Do you think the Bears are definitely the worst team in the division?
I do. I think it's Lions, Packers, decent little gap, Vikings, decent little gap, Bears, just because I have a lot of faith in Ben Johnson. I just think his offense, it's going to take a minute. I mean, it really is. I mean, that is a complex, intricate, timing-based offense, and it's going to take a minute. So I do still have the Bears as the clear-cut last-place team, and I do think the Lions and Packers are, comfortably ahead of the Vikings this year. I'm not trying to sleep on the Vikings too hard, but rookie quarterbacks, some changes on that defense, there's going to be a little drop there. There's going to be no 15-win teams in the North this year. I'll say that.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN. Yeah, you're spot on with that. I would bet on that. The Sports Betting Network, our guest, Ben Raven, Lions beat writer for MLive, and he's the co-host of Dungeon and Doom podcast. Follow him on X at Benjamin S. Raven. So you said the defense has been like incredible so far in camp. I'm guessing that's like the entire side of that. Doesn't matter first string, second string. Are they kind of licking their chops tonight to go and prove it when they get a chance to play Easton Stick and Emory Jones here against the Falcons?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, the Lions aren't going to play any of their top guys, like no starters. I don't even think we're still up in the air about Tyleik Williams and Tate Ratledge playing tonight too. So it's going to be the backup squad. But yeah, that defense, it's the linebacker room and the defensive backfield. It's been interesting. They've added 5 corners in the last month, including 2 this week just due to injuries. But it's an aggressive group. Like, it really is just an aggressive group. And I think Kelvin Shepherd has really taken what AG put down and has really carried it through. I mean, they've been mentoring him for that role for the last 2 years. And that's been the more seamless transition very clearly to start the first 2+ weeks of camp out there. But yeah, this group's going to be looking to get after it, especially after last year, last week in Canton, because like that defense got put in some tough spots. I know they gave up 34 points, but 3 short fields, held to some field goals in the second half. They're going to be looking to prove a point here tonight.
I was going to say, would you bet the Lions tonight? The betting market's moved in that direction to where the Lions are 3.5-point favorites. And what type of game do you think? A low-scoring game, a high-scoring game? 33.5 the total.
Let me say under and Falcons cover. I would think that. I think it's going to be ugly. There's been some real growing pains on offense, and Kyle Allen's probably going to play the whole second half. And that was a little. I mean, he had the one bright spot in the long drive, but I mean, going into this game, it's like, all right, Hendon, you gotta show something. I'm not out on him. I'm not waving the white flag on it, but I have no reason to think this team's going to light up the scoreboard tonight, and I don't see a reason why the Falcons will light it up either. But I do think it'll be low scoring, close, and ugly.
Yeah, this doesn't look like it's going to be very entertaining tonight. When you look at these backup quarterbacks on both sides, this is going to be one of those classic ugly preseason games you would think. And probably the under is the way to look unless you have special teams or defensive scores. Who knows? How are the Lions going to approach the rest of the preseason? Are we going to see Jared Goff and the starters and the first-team offense a lot more in week 2 or week 3 when you got 4 preseason games?
You will see them in Green Bay in week 1. They will not touch the field in the preseason. They've got the Dolphins coming to town for joint practice next week. That's when the starters get their work. And then the Texans come to town for joint practices the next week. Dan Campbell really likes to save his starters for those joint practices where you can go hard, but it's in a more controlled environment. I mean, I mean, since he's been here, they're not playing their top 35, top 40 guys. It feels like, honestly, in the preseason. No, you will not. I would say 99.9999% chance you will not see those guys at all. Like, I don't even think Khalif Raymond will play in the preseason. Like, it goes that deep.
Well, that's a very strong piece of information. Follow Ben on X at Benjamin S. Raven. Listen to his podcast, co-host of Dungeon of Doom. Ben, that was great. Thanks for the time. Enjoy the game tonight.
Hey, appreciate you all. Thank you.
You know what I liked a lot about that as he joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say 9.5 out of 10 people that we get on from a local market is always positive.
Positive.
Always.
All the Raiders reporters are positive. Right?
Everyone
headed for a big season.
You'll bet the over, right?
Quarterback's looking great in camp.
Sure. They can win their division. Whatever team you're talking about. Doesn't make a difference. Yeah, things are looking good. You won't believe guys in camp. Yada, yada, yada. My antenna automatically goes up when a local guy comes on and says, yeah, I'm not so sure. Like for tonight's game.
Offense has been struggling.
Yep.
It's been ugly. I tell you what, if he's not going to play his first-team offense in any of these preseason games, it makes me like the Packers a little bit more in that Week 1 game.
Week 1? Well, we've seen this now. The Bengals made it, right? A point this year. We've been bad the first 2 weeks coming out of the gates. We can't have that happen anymore. Teams are going to, I think, take it a little bit more seriously, and we'll go over the games that we have this weekend, including an 8.5-point move in a preseason game.